Ivanka Trump and Donald Trump are facing some criticism after Ivanka briefly substituted Trump in his seat at the G20 session. Now, she was pictured sitting next to a number of world leaders, including Angela Merkel, also the president of China, and some are arguing that this is unacceptable. She is not an elected official, so as a result, she's unqualified and she shouldn't have sat there. I'm gonna go ahead and defend her, but first let me give you the details.
Really?
Yes,
okay.
I am.
Interesting.
All right, I think this is much to do about nothing, but let me give you the details about it. So this is a response to the criticism from a senior Trump administration official. She says Ivanka Trump was sitting in the back and then briefly joined the main table when the president had to step out, and the president of the World Bank started talking as the topic involved areas such as African development, areas that will benefit from the facility just announced by the World Bank. So he steps out briefly, she takes his seat. People are upset because they think it's nepotism, which yes, to some degree it's nepotism, but it's been nepotism from the very beginning. So if you're upset about that, I understand. But to say, well, Rex Tillerson, he was appointed as Secretary of State, so he should be the one who should sit there. Okay, understood, but he also wasn't an elected official. He certainly is not qualified for that job, and she's actually there talking to world leaders about something, an effort that she took part in that I think is incredibly important. So the World Bank is trying to raise $1 billion in order to help provide capital to female entrepreneurs in both developing and developed countries, right? And so she's a woman who is an entrepreneur. She's been, trying to raise awareness about these issues. And so she, nudged Donald Trump to actually be part of this initiative. And as a result, the United States is going to contribute $50 million, which I think is great. This is good news, right? And so I think it's totally fine for her to sit there briefly and have a discussion about that. It's not that big of a deal. And I feel like criticizing her for this specific thing makes liberals seem incredibly petty. That's my take on it. Now, according to CNN, Ivanka, along with World Bank President Jim Yong Kim and Merkel, helped launch the World Bank backed program that will promote women's entrepreneurship in developing countries, okay? So I don't know, Angela Merkel was asked about this, like, hey, do you find this unusual? What do you think? And here's what she said. Ivanka Trump was part of the American delegation, so that is something that other delegations also do, and it is very well known that she works in the White House and that she is also engaged in certain initiatives.
So Anna, you make a compelling case in that she's part of the administration, this is something she cares about, and it is what it is. On the other hand, there's a couple points to be made. Number one, does it show that Trump cares about this issue if his way of caring is, I'm gonna go take a bathroom break and Ivanka, you fill in on, it's an entrepreneurship for women. Whatevs, I'll let my daughter sit in on that, okay? Okay, so that's point one.
He did talk about it during his speech at the G20.
Okay. Secondly, if the Democrats had done this, people would lose their minds. If Hillary Clinton had won and was like, Chelsea Clinton will be sitting in for me in some incredibly important meetings with world leaders, every Republican would lose their mind.
Yep, they would, that's right. And they would attack and it would be petty. And look, I only say that it would be petty if the context of the situation is the same context that we have here now. Now, please don't misunderstand me. I have no love for the Trumps, okay? And so it does pain me to defend them in this case, but fair is fair. And I feel like this is such a ridiculous criticism. They're actually doing something good here, right? Amongst all the terrible stuff that they're doing, here's something good. And they're trying to empower women in underprivileged countries. And I think that they, credit where credit is due.
So on the substance of it, I agree with you. And I don't have and I'm glad that you're pointing that out furthermore. You're right, the underlying issue is that they work in the White House in the first place.
Yes.
So if Angela Merkel was like, oh, here's all my kids, and they'll be running Germany from now on. And so one of them will be doing, handling our relationship with China. People will be like, really, are you serious? And then the other one will sit in for me in international meetings. People would think that was incredibly strange, and by the way, a little demeaning if Merkel's like, oh, here's my daughter, it's take my daughter to work day, so she's sitting in for me at this meeting.
Yeah.
Now, the daughter is not 13, I get it, she's a grown up. On the other hand, Ivanka Trump, what has she accomplished other than being Ivanka Trump? I know people are gonna find that outrageous, but like, so Donald Trump said, if she weren't my daughter, it would be so much easier for her. We might have a disagreement on that too, Anna, because I think that is a preposterous statement.
Well, I think that it's difficult to have someone like Donald Trump as your father, right?
That's true, but it's also incredibly like
you get
easy.
opportunities that most people wouldn't get.
You have hundreds of millions of dollars that you wouldn't have had otherwise. Don't tell me that it's easy. That it's hard for you. Boo hoo. Okay, so your dad's a monster. Sad day for you. But like, would Ivanka Trump be sitting in that meeting if her name was Ivanka Johnson? No, very, 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 very unlikely.
You're right about that. I don't disagree. But what I'm trying to say is we have criticized her quite a bit for saying that she wants to empower women when it had appeared that she hadn't done anything to empower women. So here she is pushing Trump to do something good for female entrepreneurs. Whether you like it or not, she is an entrepreneur. I mean, obviously, she doesn't have a level playing field compared to other women who aren't as connected, but nonetheless, she is an entrepreneur and she's doing something good here. So instead of focusing on like, wah, she's sitting at the table, wah, there's a good side to this that I think, unfortunately, people who are criticizing it aren't looking at all.
Okay, so I think I take issue with your wah, but I've been known to phrase things that way too sometimes when talking about people I don't agree with. But look, last thing on this is that when they say if she weren't my daughter, it would be so much easier for her. I think that's what gets under people's skin. It certainly got under my skin. Because if you were to say, acknowledge the breaks that you've been given. By the way, I've been given 1,000 breaks. My dad's a wonderful guy and worked his ass off and put me in a situation where I could do the things that I did. But I'm eternally grateful for that. And I don't think, I would have done it anyway, man. I don't care, I don't need anybody. And Ivanka, if she was just born dirt poor in West Virginia, she would have done all this anyway. And so it's only hurt her that she had hundreds of millions of dollars and a president and a dad who became president. Just please don't insult our intelligence because you don't have any. So that I guess goes more towards what Donald Trump said and is doing more than Ivanka. And I do appreciate that you're pointing out that the more important thing is the substance of what they discussed that day, and that was good news. Watch the Young Turks commercial free, download it or stream it, watch it any way you like at tytnetwork.com/join.